Welcome to Launch Code, a premier business podcast, starring Evan Hafer, Matt Best, and Jared Taylor.
Hey!
Oh, welcome back. What episode is this, JT?
This will probably be 54.
54, 55, something like
Yeah.
that. We've got a couple people in the house today. So we've got Jack Osbourne and Bert from TV, Bert Kuntz.
Hey now.
I mean, that's a real introduction.
It's a real
It's become a real introduction. I love it. I'm actually getting the tattoo next week.
We're still running the billboard.
Is it still there?
We're
Yeah, I
we're
think
just
we
going to
are.
keep firing it back up.
do it.
Every couple weeks.
This should be Jack from Dancing with the Stars then. If that's,
Did you
if
do
we're
Dancing
going-
with the
Hell
Stars?
yeah, dude.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Are
Are you serious?
I came
Yes.
third.
You got
Oh my
third?
God.
Yes, dude.
I didn't know that.
You're
Yeah.
graceful?
I, you know what? You can fix anything if you throw enough money at it.
Do you still dance? Do you dance with Lisa?
No.
No?
Dude, no, hell no. I think me and my wife have like gone out like from when we met, like going out to like discotheque nightclubs. I've maybe gone out to like a place where people dance 3 times with her. We just don't do it.
Did you just say
but
discotheque?
You have like 3
Yeah.
kids now. And
Yeah.
all of them are
Yeah.
like below the age of 4, right?
Yeah, we've got 5, 2, and 1 on the way.
Yeah. So that with
No, it just
Yeah.
doesn't.
It just seems
doesn't
like an
work.
interesting skill to learn that you'd want to, invite me to a wedding. Invite me to a wedding
Well,
because I'm
here's-
going to steal the show.
Here's the thing: you don't learn to dance; you just learn choreography. That's it.
Oh,
so,
really?
like, if you were to be like, "Hey, do a thing right now," I'd be like, "I don't know."
Oh, so you just were fed like
You're basically like, "Hey, repeat these
a
steps,"
script.
and just exactly. It's all a script.
that
well,
disappoints me.
so we've got a few topics that we want to cover with you today, but how do we know you? I think that's probably a good question for
Okay.
people to answer, because how in the heck did you wind up in our studio, which is basically through a combination of people, because JT knew you, I think through Tyler, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we had Tyler Gray on the show last week, and now we've had Bert on the show. He was on the show last week as well. But Bert was friends with you. Tyler's friends with you.
Yeah.
How do you know those guys? Tyler
So-
Gray and Bert Kuntz.
So I met Tyler Gray at a gun range. Imagine that. We had a mutual friend. We all went shooting, and I quickly realized I was like, "Whoa, this guy's a nerd like me." And so we became like nerd friends, and we would like talk Star Wars and video games and guns. And then about probably a year and a half later, Tyler, we moved in together.
Oh, that was fast.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
That took the step.
Tyler was my Cato Kalin. He lived in my guest house.
Hell yeah.
For about probably close to a year. And yeah, we would like just, bro out. Video games, guns, action figures. It was pretty nerdy. One time I was doing this like event challenge thing.
Right.
And I was like, "Hey, Tyler, come do it with me." And he was like, "All right, whatever." So he came and did it. I will say it because it's part of our story.
Yeah.
It was a Go Ruck.
Right.
And from that, about a year after doing it, I was like, "Hey, Tyler, you should go be one of the cadre there. Like, why? It's a good way to travel, and you literally get paid to travel at face value."
Right.
So he was like, "All right," and then he decided to do it. And through working at Go Ruck, him and Bert met, became lovers.
Yes.
Yes. Tyler and I did not move in together, though.
No, they did not.
Tyler's not clean enough to live with me.
I've got a really funny ad to this intersection once we get to us.
Okay. And then from that, Bert became Bert and Tyler both became in the Go Ruck community, like pretty big deals. They were like the sought after cadre for the events because they really, put the hurting on folks.
Right.
Bert and I became friends through Tyler, and then Bert came and worked on the show I do, Ozzy and Jack's World Detour, and then through then I randomly met Matt Best through some friends. They just kind of connected us like over the internet. I think it was like some dating app we met on.
Oh yeah, Grindr.
Yeah,
It's called
something like
Grindr.
that. It was, and so we were friends, and then Tyler, and then I was like, oh, Matt, you got to meet Tyler, just like connecting people, and then I met you at Evan. I met you at SHOT Show last year. I don't know, it's just kind of weird.
So you introduced Tyler to Matt?
Tyler,
Or did they already know each other?
No, Matt has like, oh, I'd heard of Tyler. I've heard of Tyler. We've just never met. And I was like, oh, you guys got to link up. And then they ended up, not, through me meeting up. And then when did I meet you, JT? I met you.
Going back, we're almost 4 years ago too. So, I had somebody in the gun community that kept bringing your name up. You have to meet Jack. You have to meet Jack. And they, kept telling me they were like your best friend and everything.
It's
and
the Salient guys,
I was
right?
like, no. They're not around anymore.
Sorry.
So I was like, yeah, well, yes, I want to. And then I was in LA. Matt and I were both in LA for a pre-production thing.
Yeah.
And I called Tyler and I was like, hey, can you reach out to Jack because I know you guys are close? Tell me and Matt are here and let's do lunch. And we met for those tacos.
Yeah, we did. And then we went on that news. There was like a news
There was
thing.
a Mexican news channel doing a story there. We all got interviewed for it. And then we defaced a Justin Bieber billboard.
Yeah. I forgot about that. And then Matt got sick and I had to give him meds.
That was the next time we went to LA because that was kind of like the nail inside of it because you were like, oh, you're sick, here, let me help you out, and then it's like, man, Jack is a really cool guy. And then I throw out that dude's name that kept telling me that he was going to link us up. You're like, I don't know that person.
Oh, seriously? That's funny.
Yeah, so I'm like, I keep thinking like we're gonna get, like, oh man, I'm super excited, this is gonna be cool, and then. I met Tyler through airsoft people in California.
Okay.
Yeah, Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew Ho.
Yeah, Andrew Ho. Dude, Andrew Ho, good people.
He has
He
everybody he has ever linked me up with has been pretty
Solid.
awesome.
Yeah.
He's a solid guy. The funny thing is when Tyler and I met, we started talking. We're like, oh yeah, we're both in the same reserve police department in New Mexico.
Yep.
Like, oh, hey, look at that. Small world.
Yeah, there's another super famous guy who's on that department as well.
I know. likes to try to get rifles from people during the middle during active shooter incidents. Yeah.
Hey, dude, you need to put your partner in check, bro.
I know. Well, I mean, I did on this podcast. I think not on this one.
It was a Drinking Bros. It was a
Drinking
I called him
Bros.
a buffoon. Yeah, he is. He's a buffoon. But neither there.
Yeah.
Neither here nor there.
Moving along.
What are we gonna talk about, JT, specifically? related to Jack
I think we want to focus on essentially the gap transition between when the Osbournes kind of ended and when you decided, you know what, I'm going to do business and I'm going to do my own things. And we want to hear that story.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Osbournes went off the air. Well, I guess we stopped filming in like 2004.
Wow.
Yeah, it was only on for a short period. And I started doing a lot of work in England. That's just being where we were from, and we had a lot of my family had a lot of like business infrastructure there from my mom running management companies and stuff. And I got approached to go on this trip to Slovenia to go rock climbing. At the time, I was like newly sober. I was not any kind of athletic person. I was probably like 230 pounds, like not very agile. And I was like, oh, whatever, it'll be fun.
JT.
Yeah, I mean, not too far from where I am now. And so I went on this rock climbing trip, and I really was like, oh, it was like the first time doing anything real outdoors for me. Growing up on the mean streets of Beverly Hills, you don't really have, the kind of, outdoors was the outdoor mall in Century City.
Right.
So kind of really took to doing adventurous stuff. And through doing this little TV project, it was like a one-off episode, I became good friends with the production team. And one of the guys on it, a guy named Mike Weeks, who's one of my best friends, he's like, hey, I got this idea. Why don't we train, and I'll train you, because he was a professional rock climber. He's like, and we'll take you up El Cap in Yosemite. He's like, you can climb that. He's like, 2 years of training, and you'll be able to climb that thing. And I was like, I'm in. And we ended up selling a TV show off of that called Adrenaline Junkie. So I went from doing the Osbournes to rolling right into doing a show called Adrenaline Junkie, which the first season aired here, but it was everywhere else in the world but America. It was too positive at the time. Reality TV was all like wine in the face and like
drama,
fighting, whatever. And mine was
Springer.
like, hey, do something healthy and inspirational and fun. And America was like, no, we don't do that. So I did that show for 5 years. I went literally everywhere. I kind of like to say it was like all my friends went off to university, and I filled up 2 passports. And it was basically the biggest scam of a job I've ever pulled off. I literally convinced a TV network for 5 years
to just let you go do fun shit.
To pay me to go do fun shit with my closest friends and film it. It was great.
That's actually what that show, because I saw a few episodes and it really did look exactly what you just described.
Yes.
I was like, this is fucking great. Good God. What are they?
You know how you see all these like asshole Instagrammers like, look, here's me in Belize and here's me in like Puerto Rico and, you know, Caribbean or whatever. I was doing that before Instagram existed on someone else's dime. Like I maintain I'm like the original Instagram traveler.
Yeah. Agreed. I think you got that title.
So I did that, and then through doing this, and it was a real small production, I started learning about, production idea, you know, just the whole, the background of TV. Because when we were doing the Osbournes, we didn't see much of it. And then I realized that, well, it's all good and well to be on a TV show, but you really have no power. You're kind of told, all right, go there, do this, do that. You know, like, you're getting paid really well, but, like, I'm kind of a control freak. So I was like, screw it. I want to actually, you know, I've been around this for like, at this point, it'd been like 7 or 8 years. I was like, I know the landscape, and I was like, cool, I'm going to start my own production company, and kind of just went from there. So from that, you know, I went to producing TV shows.
And what was, so as you developed your first production company, what was your first pitch? And what was that like going in? Like when you were like, okay, this is finally my ideas.
Yeah.
It's my stuff. Who was the first meeting that took you?
So one of the first things I decided I wanted to do was, it was actually a show I called Full Metal Jack. And I had permission from the United States Marine Corps to go do an embed in Afghanistan for 3 months with a Marine unit. And they were like, yeah, you can totally come do this and like do, you know, whatever. And no network would buy it. They said it was too dangerous.
Really?
Yeah, because it was like,
That would be amazing.
dude, I was like, I'm in. Let's do this. And it was right on the, like, it was during like when like Hellman was really bad and, you know, Camp Leatherneck was like getting hammered and all that. And so I was like, that's where I want to go. And the Marines were like, cool, come along. Just don't die. So yeah, no network. That was like the first thing I went out with. And then, but that wasn't as my own freestanding company. The first show I actually sold was called Alpha Dogs, and it was on Nat Geo. And me and my then business partners just went out to Indiana to film this military canine training school. And we came back and we put the sizzle together, and we sold like 16 episodes instantly. We were like, what do we do now? It was like the best quality problem ever. And that's kind of how, you know, I started, you know, being a legitimate TV producer versus like every other, you know, as I like to call producer.
Producer.
Sure.
Producer. Because you're a douche.
Are there a lot of them? I don't know.
There's so many producers in LA.
Really?
I can imagine.
It's littered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how many people are just like, yeah, I'm a producer. Like they're just using that as a pickup.
How many people are using stolen ideas that they took from somebody below them? And
Everything's a stolen idea. There's no original ideas. For a while, this guy I knew had this whole gag about original ideas, and he was like, there's no original ideas left until he found one. And do you want to know what it was? He said it was the most original thing he's ever seen. It was a porno where a man and woman were walking through a forest. They shoot a bear out of a tree, And
Yes, it's called Shake That Bear.
Yes, and proceed to fornicate on the carcass of a dead bear.
It used to be ShakeThatBear.com.
Okay.
Why did you know
do
this?
know
and why
him
are
and
you-
I know the most about the internet.
Yes, we spent. But
Yeah.
It's
okay,
incredible.
not that I condone that behavior by any means, but it is original.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, they even came up with a name for it. Like, you do know that, right? Like, we have gone toe to toe for internet depth.
Yeah,
I can't imagine.
it gets dark. I mean,
Throw Tyler Gray in there as well, and that's a trifecta of weird knowledge about the internet and television.
I sent him Have you seen the 300-pound leg break yet?
Oh God,
The 300-pound leg break?
Yeah.
No, I got to hear
It's
this.
this guy I guess like Steve-O's taking him under his wing. He's like some
Oh,
new. He's
yeah,
like
yeah.
a big
I know,
guy.
I know exactly what you're talking about. yeah.
And he goes to do like a skate trick and lands it wrong and snaps his leg, but like a full fib snap, and it's like noodle foot. Oh,
Those are the worst.
noodle foot.
So right now, as it stands, how many shows have you done?
So TV right now is a really interesting. By interesting, I mean depressing landscape.
Has it ever been not depressing?
There was kind of
Really?
a golden era, especially for what I do, I mean,
Okay.
basically reality TV. There was a golden era, and it was that kind of window post Osbourne's, probably till about, it was like a 4-year window, and it started going down after the financial crash in 2008.
And then we have a staple in this year, too, now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that was when like networks were like throwing money at reality shows, and you could do a half-hour reality show and get $500K, which was amazing. I mean, you're lucky to get $500K to do an hour-long episode now. And so we kind of came in right at the end of when they were letting boutique small production companies produce TV shows. The way it works is that if you're like a small production company, you don't have any I guess track record with a network, they won't let you produce a show yourself. You have to partner with like a major production company. And so we were very fortunate to be in that last little slither when my old company was called Sweet Entertainment. So we did shows did a pilot for CBS, MTV, VH. I mean, we did pretty much everyone we produced something for, whether it was a pilot or a series. I ended up having irreconcilable differences with my business partners and shutting
That
that.
happens.
That happens.
we talked about it on the episode that I was on. We talked about
It legitimately is a divorce.
Yeah, it
Yes.
is. It's
It's
just as
worse.
hard.
Yeah, because it's like, well, at least I mean, at least my divorce doesn't. Well, unless you're working with your wife, but it's like that's my work now.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Well, anybody that works for their wife is not very smart in the first place.
Oh, is that so?
Really? Tell us about that.
Yeah,
bud.
yeah. Tell us more about that.
Wait, is Candace about to come in here and beat you?
Probably.
But did you slip in the shower today?
Yeah. Yeah. Bert's always coming in like, I fell down the stairs again. I'm like, there's no stairs in your house, Bert. There's no stairs in your house,
The
Bert.
fridge door hit me in the face. So
I
close.
mean, drop the soap.
Candace
Oh.
runs shakethatburt.com.
Yeah.
That might make some money.
So how about this? Like, the landscape has changed drastically now
Yes.
in LA, and for anybody that's attempting to get a career in the entertainment industry here, I've been telling people, stop going to LA. It's dead. Like that dream is over, where you think you're going to move out there and you're going to audition and you're going to get these parts and you're going to work your way up. Like, don't go to LA.
Honestly, the best thing you can do, and I tell people, especially if they want to go down the acting route or the producing route, go to college and get a degree in it. There are so many people in LA that like come out, I want to be an actor, and they're like, well, where did you study? Well, no, I didn't. I just moved out here to become an actor. It's really hard, but if you got some already in the acting community because you went to some art,
Yes.
liberal arts school or whatever, and you have the experience of acting, you know how to basically involve yourself into a community, and that's the biggest thing. It's like, all right, cool. Hey, get in this community. Hey, my sister's a casting agent, and they're doing an open casting for a thing, whatever. And it's just little baby steps.
I've also noticed, though, is the people that are in LA trying to do that are the worst networkers I've ever met in my life. Like they are horrible.
Well, like legitimately, when I look at what you guys did with Range 15, you've got people in LA who have been in LA for 20 years and did not accomplish what you guys accomplished. It's like, it's no small feat. And it's really like, I mean, when we first, kind of really started talking and connecting, I told you this. Like, you guys had the ability to do what a lot of people can't figure out. And it was, came up with a script you liked, you hired the right people, and you got it funded. And that's, I mean, it's really hard to do in LA, let alone when you guys were in where, like El Paso. And I mean, like, you guys should start the El Paso Film Fund as a result of that. You do like one movie a year. Great.
One movie a year from El Paso. So as everything's kind of changing right now, you've got Netflix, you've got Amazon, you've got all these different mediums that are kind of, I guess, same medium, but different channels that are going to be popping
Verticals.
up.
Yeah.
What are you predicting for the future? Because the joke is, right, that like you could, South Park did a whole thing on it where Netflix just has a bunch of people that just clear everything green light, like everything's green light. What? You're a 4-year-old and you're having a hard time brushing your teeth? Green light, green light, green light. And it's like everything's being green lit on Netflix.
So here's the thing with Netflix, because I've gone and I've pitched to Netflix. When you walk in the door at Netflix, you have to have everything done already. They don't want to spend any time developing or like, it's like, you have to go in there with what every episode's going to look like. You'd be like, here's the producers, here's the cast, here's the like, and if it's scripted, everything's got to be done. And then they just go, cool, green light. If they like it, obviously.
Right.
Like, if you go there with anything that's even remotely like needs some building out, or they won't even look at it. But I personally, to answer your question, I think that everything TV related is going to just go a la carte. It's going to go, you're not going to have constant streaming TV anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's consuming 50% of our bandwidth.
Right.
And people want faster internet, and it can't really get any faster because
you've got TV.
Because you got TV, and that's just sucking up 50%.
Get rid of it.
Yeah. and no one is watching TV like they used to. Yeah. A big rating for like broadcast network television is like
3 million?
Yeah, if you got a 3 million episode, woof.
What does that mean, though?
Eyes.
That
3
means
million
eyeballs.
TVs.
3 million eyeballs tuning
Is-
into
is-
that episode.
Yes, is
Okay.
awesome. 10 years ago, 12 million was like the standard. Like, hey, you've got a hit show with like, wow, awesome. You can even see it with like big sporting events. With like the Super Bowl. I mean,
Yeah,
the ratings.
and I was reading about that yesterday. The NFL, the ratings are declined, but everybody's trying to throw that it's because of Trump and what's going on with the NFL. It's not.
No.
The real root cause of it is exactly people are watching.
People are on their phones.
HBO Go or watching Netflix or watching other programming.
That makes sense to me because ultimately, like, I've never understood this anyway. So I pay for cable, right? Everybody does. And then you still get commercials, which would just piss you off.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's like, so I'm going to pay you a couple $100 a month for this TV.
Other people to pay you to advertise towards me.
But this is fucking crazy. So basically, I think society should have a big middle finger and say, fuck you.
Yeah.
Because if you want me to pay $500 a month, great. I don't want commercials.
Right.
Like, I don't want to see the mattress guy fucking with a crown on his head dancing around like a fucking idiot. Like, I
commercials
don't
are
want to
just
see
horrible
that.
now.
So I blame this on the TV industry because
Yeah.
they've ultimately not adapted to what people are like, hey, we don't want commercials.
No.
Like, how many times do you have to hear this from
But that's
society?
what TV is.
But that's what it is.
TV
Well, it is.
literally was created to sell shit.
But if they were like, oh my gosh, we can just sell fucking TV at a higher price to the people that want to watch it.
I would pay for that.
Fuck yeah.
Well, that's like the radio. I pay for Pandora now, the $12 a month. And
Absolutely.
I haven't listened to a regular radio station in probably a year now, and I probably never will again.
I do it in
I
everything.
haven't
So
listened to
the
radio in 5
YouTube
years.
Premium, no commercials. The Spotify, no commercials. Like, I do everything because, and I'm an ad guy. So like for me, I mean, when I say that, like, I'm a marketing guy. I actually watch commercials. I like watching them.
Yeah.
But when they're just shit on local television,
And they're too much,
commercials,
yeah.
They're too much.
There's like, what is it, 5 commercial breaks
Yeah.
on an hour-long show, or maybe more. I'm like, screw that.
Oh yeah.
Well,
when I
when they-
watched
in the
yours
com-
the other day,
Yeah,
it
just-
was like, oh god, ads. These suck.
They're
Well,
fucking horrible.
And the commercials you guys do, though, like BlackRifle does on the internet, are much more entertaining because you have control of it. It's not watered down. So when I see commercials on the internet now, those are great. But then you go back and watch TV in a hotel room, like Candace and I were in Wyoming in the hotel room and watching Curb Your Enthusiasm, and it was like an hour-long show with commercial after commercial after commercial. I ended up turning it off and bought it on my computer on HBO Go because I was like, hey, I'm
He
done with
knows this the best too. Is the reason why these are so watered down and just shit is because there's 15 people in the chain from idea to finished product that aren't necessarily basing their input or changes off of anything real. They're just saying things to be involved in this process, and we've accepted that as a
And a huge part of creatives and shows are being determined by the kind of eyeballs the advertisers are paying for. So say, you can always tell who's watching what channel by the commercials.
Yeah.
You go to Nickelodeon, you're going to see kids' toys, and you're not going to see a car commercial.
and mothers and freaking
Diapers,
dish soap and
exactly.
stuff like that.
So they are governed by the consumer, and so it's really strange because you'll be like, you can't show a Chevy pickup truck in this show because Ford buys all of our advertising, so you can't show that. And so, that big story we had about our cast getting all Chevy trucks donated from a local dealership that had whatever reason for the reality, the real reality idea, goes out the window. So it's really it's
YouTube's a
dance.
perfect example now. You know what they've done recently.
Modified
They're modifying their whole platform to be kid friendly.
Yeah.
Because advertisers
and that's who's
dictated it.
spending the most time on YouTube is kids. You give a kid an
Really?
iPhone. Yep, you give a kid an iPhone, and that's who's consuming most streaming networks. That's why HBO bought Sesame Street. That's why you're getting all these. Disney is now taking everything off of streaming networks, and Disney's finally creating their own streaming app. And so because you put a tablet in front of a kid, and they'll sit there for 15 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Charlotte
thank
calls
God.
YouTube toy music.
Toy music.
Yeah, I want to watch my toy music. That's YouTube. I don't know where she came up with that,
Yeah.
but
Dude, my kid knows
She'll-
everything about these toys, and I'm like,
she knows how to find it.
Yeah.
Like and she'll watch somebody unboxing a toy for hours.
Mm-hmm.
See, I cut all that shit out.
Yeah.
That's why I don't have.
do you do the wooden
commercials.
toy thing? You only let your kids
we
play
do.
wooden toys?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's smart.
Evan buys his daughter chickens and animals and
Yeah.
Well, I mean, she
bows and
goes to a
arrows.
Waldorf school, so she's
Yeah.
like totally like wooden toys and plates.
They
and
only
fucking crazy ass
Waldorf
shit.
is like,
She's
isn't
a
that like only 30 minutes
T-set.
of screen time a week kind of thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we keep her to like literally an hour of TV a week. So basically, my wife is fucking going crazy, like because she's got children.
It's tough because it's such an easy pacifier,
It is.
Yeah. And on a plane, dude, if
Oh
there's
yeah,
no-
we have to.
Yeah.
We make that exception. Like,
You're
when
like-
they're traveling, or that kid would fucking drive you like
Yeah.
you would off yourself. I'd throw myself off a fucking cliff.
They're so cute until you put them on an airplane and you're like, oh.
Or put them in the back seat for 7 hours, and you're like, "Is there a back seat? Can
we put 'em in the
fucking
trunk?"
divider? Yeah, is it legal to put my kid in the trunk? I don't know.
It's you buy a limo just for that, just to
Yeah,
have the
just
kid
to have
in
the
very
divider.
back and the divider.
There you go. So going back to like the future of television, the future of production, like in your mind, like how are you going to sell shows? Like how is this going to happen?
You're seeing a lot more of it where brands are coming in and brands are. But there's okay, let me break this up. There's a buyback model where independent people will just go and finance and produce their own show, and they will go to a network and be like, here,
It's done.
It's done. Give
Right.
me a slot, and we will share the ad sales.
Got it.
Which is becoming Discovery Networks does a lot of that. So if you're ever on like Discovery Channel, it's like, Tuesday at 11 o'clock, and there's a new show on you've never seen, or you didn't see much advertising for, whatever. Chances are to buy back. And a lot of times they're actually really good.
Yeah. Because they're out of that process.
Yeah, they haven't been overly produced by 15 producers and whatever. We're really lucky with World Detour. you know, and I'm not just saying this, like A&E have been unbelievably awesome with, you know, not overproducing, not sticking their fingers in the pie too much, and you know, they're like, well, you guys are out there, you guys know what you're doing. Just, you know, we like what we like and we don't like what we don't like, and they're really simple about giving you those answers.
When you guys are lucky too, you have Greg Johnston
Yeah.
and Bill. Like those guys are
Yeah, our producers are like the
just
best in the
phenomenal
business.
human beings, let alone producers.
Yeah. So you got the buyback model. You have the brands coming in and co-financing with networks and doing brand integration or whatever.
Right.
Like, you know, you happen
It
to
works
see.
better than advertising.
Yeah, it's like drinking a Coke, or like, hey, we got a new golf cart, and they're like doing something with it. Like it's a good way to engage the viewer to be like, oh, that's cool, I like that, I might go buy that. And then there's the traditional model of you go to a network with an idea and you sell it to them and they own it forever and eternity. And that's another thing. Networks have completely stripped out the back end of TV shows for producers. It is, and I say to my wife, it will pretty much be next to impossible, unless I were to create the next Survivor, it would be next to impossible to legitimately retire making TV.
Wow.
It's just, you know, the cost of living in LA is not cheap. And then you add in the fact that, all right, you're given an X amount, a small portion of the budget as your talent fees, but then you got to split that with lawyers and agents and other producers you're working with, and you'll never see any back end. So it's really kind of strange. You know, I was talking to someone over at CBS the other day, and we were just kind of talking about the climate of TV, and at the end of it, it was like, just try and get into movies, because even though it's not amazing, it's still better than TV as far as
There's the constant residuals as it just lives forever.
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So shift the focus from TV just to movies.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I have a couple movie projects that in very early development that have kind of just been.
Yeah, I was going to say, does that interest you at all?
I would love to. Because it's the same amount of work, to be honest with you.
Right.
Do you ever get asked to be like cameo in movies, like
Early
on a
on,
regular basis?
Not anymore.
Really?
Yeah, early on I did. I was in a Mary Kate and Ashley movie.
Oh, really?
Sweet.
Saved by the Bell.
Do you have?
No,
Saved by the
no,
Bell?
I was in That 70 Show.
You were really?
Yeah, I was in an episode of That 70 Show. I was in Dawson's Creek. I was like a reoccurring character in Dawson's Creek.
Serious?
Yeah, dude. I'm a motherfucking actor.
Wow.
How was Ashton Kutcher?
He wasn't in my scene.
Oh,
I did it
you didn't
with
get to see him?
Danny Masterson.
Okay.
And who else was there? Remember Danny? It was like at the DMV. It was like this short little thing.
I've got to ask about the so with the Weinstein stuff happening and like the exposure.
Yeah.
I got to ask the question. I mean,
Yeah.
you live it. You live in that environment. I
Sure.
mean, was this a surprise? Was this like a secret?
Well,
it was an open secret, or
listen, I've never had direct business with him. You know,
so you've never been in a hotel with him? He's blocked the door.
No one's ever asked to finger you.
Got a little,
no.
check your insides.
You know, it's one of those things where it has gone on in Hollywood
Right.
since the dawn of Hollywood.
Since it started.
And so I'm not necessarily surprised by any of these allegations at all. I'm surprised it's taken as long as it has for people to go, hey, you know what? There's an endemic problem in this business, and it is real. Now, I'm not saying that that Hollywood is full of these crazy sexual predators running around like rampant, like it's Rome in before the fall. But it's there are people that do very much take advantage of their position.
Right.
And I think that's what's really coming to light.
Like you had Louis C.K. said it best, like, right? Remember you were reading
Yeah,
the article?
he's
He was like, dude, I didn't, I guess I was just so excited that I had become famous. I didn't think that me, taking on advances from women was bad. He's like, I was just excited I was getting them.
Like, if I take my dick out and you decide to suck it, like, is that me being an asshole or is it just me being a dude?
And I tell you
That's
what,
basically what he said. And he's like, now I understand. Like, I'm in a position of authority and I was a star. But at the time of transition, like, that was his point. It was
you're
like,
just
I'm
excited.
just a regular dude that's been working his ass off on stage with like a couple hundred people every year. I don't even think of myself as important. So...
And I think that's what is really kind of crazy, because you have a lot of people in LA really now questioning their behavior,
right?
And even more so, like, whoa, like what, like was that above board what I did? I don't know. Like I just conversations with colleagues, everyone's just walking around like, is someone gonna come out and say, you know, you abused your power and I was victimized and there's nothing you can do about it, you know.
No.
And I'm not condoning any of that action, but it's very strange. Like, well, you know, I was at rap parties on shows years and years and years ago, and you know, I may have hooked up with someone who was on that show as a, you know, in a in an administrative role on the show. Like, is that me abusing power, or is that just people at a rap party, two adults like hooking up at a party? Like, it's really and it's kind of baking everyone's noodle, because everyone's super vigilant now of their actions.
Well, and it's super subjective. So it's like, so it's based on the person's perspective and whether or not they feel that they're in a position of authority over that other person, especially if they're not in a definitive chain of command and like a relationship as far as like employer employee. Yeah, that's really subjective, man. And that's the thing that's scary about some of this, where it's like, okay, so what's the difference between a guy, I guess, and we're all guys sitting here going, you know, if JT's single and he hits on somebody, you know, he's got Drinking Bros, the podcast, it's downloaded, you know, a couple million times a month. And now is he taking advantage of his position, basically, as a celebrity, even though he doesn't think of himself as a celebrity, even though he doesn't live like a celebrity, even though, like, there's a multitude of different factors there. They're like, he's just a dude trying to get laid like every other dude.
Has done since the
dawn of time. And then now all of a sudden, like, getting laid is basically going to be villainized.
And I think that's the new algorithm. It's like, well, how do you figure out?
Because like you're saying, though, a production supervisor or somebody in a supervisory role on a production that is hitting on one of the girls working for that production versus the talent who is not in the chain of command at all. You were hired to just be there and be on camera. But does this person think you're more of an authority figure because of your name and the fame behind it, rather than the person that actually has the authority over, are you going to work again?
Yeah.
Like,
but it's not. But here's the thing, though. Like, that scenario now, you're going to start seeing, you're already seeing, like, other businesses, people are coming out like, oh, he was a department head on another, you know, and we had a relationship, and I feel, you know, he asserted his power. It's a very strange line. And I think that the kind of sexual harassment.
Some of it is probably an attention grab.
Yeah.
I mean, I think after the first big ones hit, this became a something in the back of people's mind that may have, you know, their 15 minutes was over. How do I get back in the press? Oh, I'm gonna whistle blow on somebody.
Listen, in my mind, there's a very clear distinction between sexual abuse and sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is, hey, I like your dress. That can be misconstrued as sexual harassment. Right. Sexual abuse, and I mean, I think we all have an idea of, but, you know, once again, here's the thing: we are four white men sat around talking about this, and let's be honest, you know, we are considered the lowest of low on the kind of social justice totem pole.
Nobody gives a fuck what we gotta say.
No. But here's the thing: people will be like, "Oh, those assholes," and but it's a very strange time. I talk to, you know, people I work with in different, you know, fields, and everyone's just like, "Oh man," you know, people are walking around like waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Well, it's insane. I mean, as an employer, you know, as an employer, you know, I've never done anything like even that could be considered like inappropriate. But I've always,
you have.
Well, yeah, because he's a partner. I don't give a fuck about him. But you know, I won't even like literally, I will not even like go into a room if there's like
Just one person.
If there's one person in it, I turn around and walk right back out.
Yeah.
Because that's the condition that
Yeah.
we live in.
100%.
Which is like, you can't leave anything up to interpretation.
Yeah.
There always has to be witnesses. There always has to be this direct professional communication. And the thing of it is that's not right, actually,
No.
because it's not
Natural.
human condition. Like the human condition is like, hey, how are you? How are you today?
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. Let's have a conversation. But now you have to protect yourself, especially if you own a company. You have to protect yourself like down the line.
Yeah.
And if
And then-
you
and-
do anything,
Well, and history dictates that. People are going to be so overprotective with this now that it's actually going to have a counter.
It will.
It's going to be counterproductive for certain females. They're not going to get hired because people are going to go, nope, don't want any trouble with that.
I'm
Yeah.
just going to
Don't-
fix it by
don't-
hiring
I'll-
female executives because
I probably
nobody can fuck with them.
Someone will probably try and sue me for saying this, but I will not hire a female personal assistant.
No, me either.
Just
I can't
won't do
either.
it.
I said the same thing.
Yeah.
Won't do it.
It's just too.
It's
too big of a
intimate.
liability.
It's too
they could
intimate of
be-
a job.
Yeah, they could be the
Like,
most qualified woman under the sun and perfect for the fit. And I'm sorry, I won't do it.
If they do, they have to be 50 years old and have like 4 kids for me, and like like there's absolutely no way in hell anything could inappropriate. But at the end of the day, like you still have to protect your companies
Yeah.
against, and it does. It becomes not about the most qualified person for the job. It
Yeah.
becomes about protecting the company, making sure that you're not setting yourself up for liability.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, talk about a fucking lack of optimization. Like there's a huge loss. And so like as society, we should really take a look at this and say,
Yeah.
like, is this
And
the way we want to function?
And we're even, we're talking about season 3 of the show I do with my dad,
Right.
and we're all having discussions. Well, we should, is there are we moving to a straight male only production?
Right.
And I mean, but you can't do that.
You can't.
You can't.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm not going to lie. As an executive on the show, we've had that discussion of like,
Right.
hey, listen, it's it's men and women. We traveled all over the world together. We're in, this, that, and the other.
in cool places.
In cool
so there's
places.
drinking.
Places,
Yes,
tight
and
quarters.
There's stress. There's drinking. There's
in a vehicle together for long periods of time, different men and it's just it's things now that we have to really take on board. And I think going forward, I think what we're going to have to mandate on just my own production is that we are going to create a kind of standard operating procedure. This is the expectations of the interaction between the staff and the production, and anything outside of this perimeter is
tolerated.
it's not tolerated. You're gonna have to be terminated, and I think that's what has to happen.
Well, and even then, like even wrongful termination, and even the like
That's-
now you're getting into a whole other level where it's like you're as an employer, you are going to be in a fucking prison.
Yeah.
You can't fire anybody. There's no way that you can terminate them.
Yeah.
Like,
and God forbid you fire a millennial.
Well, yeah, if you fire a millennial, it's like, hey man, that you're for sexual harassment or whatever. And it's like, I didn't sexual harass anybody. I feel like I'm being harassed. Like
Yep.
that's the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
That's the way it's going to be articulated.
Yeah.
And those are the lawsuits. As an employer, there's going to be such a lack of optimization here. Like I was reading a story about George Bush Sr. He's 93 years old. He's confined to a wheelchair. And there's an actress that came out and said that he groped her.
Yeah.
Well, okay, dude. He's 93 years old. He's confined to a wheelchair. He's been hospitalized like 3 times over the last year, right? Do you, like, at the end of the day, like, is that really a sexual advancement? Like,
Well, I mean, and
it's,
even
and I'm
just-
saying, and I'm not defending a 93-year-old man, but like when you're sitting in a wheelchair and you go to take a picture with somebody, is that an inappropriate
But
arm
what
bump?
was it? What was it he said? He said something along with him placing his hand upon her buttocks.
Did he?
Yeah, it was some creepy thing like,
But that's where my point is like, dude, now this guy has, I mean, he obviously has fucking dementia.
yeah.
And he has, like, he's 93 years old. He's confined to a wheelchair.
Yeah.
You are 20-some years old. You're an actress. Like, shut your fucking mouth. Like, he's an old man. My grandpa was, like, 80 years old, living in a nursing home. He'd had a stroke, and he was, like, half out, half in, half out. And he was always asking him to, like, give him fucking hand jobs and stuff. And I'm like, dude, when is it an appropriate time to be like, this dude's super old? Like
Like,
he's
we're
just gonna
obviously
accept it.
Get a hall pass.
We're just gonna
yeah.
accept
like
it.
he can't like get out of his wheelchair
Yeah.
and fucking rape me. Like I get it, he's a former president, but that's just like
Well,
your
and
15 minutes of fame on
You
that
look
bullshit.
at the internet, and there's like 5 or 6 80 to 90-year-old female couples that everybody on the internet's going crazy about because they're these nutty old ladies that say whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's funny.
Yeah.
But it's not funny when George Bush or somebody like that does. Again, like at what point when you're 80 years old to 100 years old, haven't you kind of earned a pass
Like-
to just say whatever the fuck you want and be
Can ya?
yourself and
Isn't
just
there-
enjoy
isn't there a-
life without any? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like George W. Bush is going to actually rape somebody.
I think
I mean, give me,
I think
give
what
me
the
a
big
break.
issue is that it's the talking point of what are they the institutionalized sexism.
Right.
It's the thing I think this is the argument that they're trying to hammer home by the I guess the people out for justice.
Well, I honestly see a correlation with this, with the same of these mass shootings and stuff going on, where people are doing it because for the specific piece of your name
Yeah.
and your fame.
Yeah.
And it's become like, now it's become, oh, you want to get in the news? Tell everybody somebody sexually assaulted you. Like,
I would say it goes both ways because like I'm not defending him, HW or any perspective, but it's like it goes both ways, man. Like as an employer, like employees have said inappropriate things to me. I mean they've
All
said
the
it
time.
all the fucking time, right? So it's like, when is human behavior, just like being a man, being a woman, and being able to like make a joke and then being able to react to that joke and say, I don't like that. Okay, well, that's the expectation. From my perspective, that's the expectation for just like general humanity, to be able to go, I don't like that.
Yeah.
But to say,
And
but
it
to not
ends right
say,
there.
but
And
to
it ends
not
right there.
say anything, and then just like say, here's your fucking lawsuit. Like, who is the dude? What was it, Terry?
Terry Crews.
Yeah, Terry Crews. That was like, I was groped like 5 years ago by a guy at a cocktail party. He never said anything to him, but according to him, he's got PTSD because he was groped by this fucking dude at a party. It's like, man, but isn't it the responsibility? Like, we have to take some form of responsibility for ourselves at some point to
In
say,
the moment.
Well, and
hey, I don't like that, because humans are humans, and we've been fucking since the beginning of time. It is the basis of like why we're here. Procreation is not going to stop, and just the fact like dudes and like anytime you've got men and women in the same place, things are going to be said and done that are inappropriate. Now, and it's really subjective to see if a person is actually leveraging a form of power
Yeah.
in order to have some type of sexual exploitation. However, you could turn that around and say, because this person is in my chain of command, right? And let's say it's male, female, we reverse it. And if she's making sexual advancements on a boss, like, does that she's actually got more power at that point?
well,
Yeah.
Because if you say it's inappropriate and you counsel her and or terminate her, you're going to tee yourself up. You are going to tee yourself up for a litigation at that point. So who has the real power? At that point?
And that's it was fun. Bert and I were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. At no time in history has life been this good.
No.
Especially in America.
communication, power, water,
Entertainment,
food, entertainment.
We have people might get bent out of shape, but even people on the lower end of the kind of financial spectrum, people who don't have a lot of money,
Still got iPhones.
they still have iPhones, they still have cars, they still have the ability to get food somehow.
They're not farming.
It's it's like
Vaccinations. Medicine.
They have all that, and so I think what we're experiencing
Boredom.
on so many levels, from the people who are having issue with everything, we're experiencing boredom. It's exactly it. It's people are bored and they need to be a victim.
Well,
to be put back in your point, which is like at the turn of the century, at let's say 1912, I think the only billionaire in American history at that point was like Rockefeller. He what was it, 1912 roughly? Let's just say 1912. Today, if you were to take a time machine back to 1912, and you were the poorest person in the world, and you were to assume his position within, as a billionaire within the society that he lived in, you would still have a way better life here than you did in 1912. His wife died of pneumonia.
Yeah.
Or something
Life
like that, where it's like
expectancy was
the life
47 years
expectancy
old,
is
like
you're going to die of tuberculosis, you're going to die of fucking, like going to a hospital in 1912, good fucking luck, motherfucker.
But here's
Like,
the thing is,
They'd hammer your brain.
I
think we're gonna just fucking give you a lobotomy and throw you in a fucking loony bin. That's it's like, I just have a cold.
I think
I'm just
Facebook has
my-
a huge fucking role to play in
Yes,
this.
100%.
Because what it's done is it's created this. Why don't I get attention? So you see all these celebrities and everybody out there on Facebook that are, they get all the attention, and then it's like, yeah, but I'm on Facebook too. Why doesn't people comment on my stuff? Why aren't they all interested?
Yep.
Why did 4 years ago when I created my Facebook page, did I try and make my life look way cool to my friend group and things like that? And that's where this breed of how do I get the attention on me? So
the
what's
problem
the fastest way to do it?
There are genuine victims of abuse.
Correct.
Absolute, genuine, irrefutable, have experienced some horrible things at the hands of people of power.
Yes.
And then there are some people who
Capitalizing on the situation.
Yeah, nobody found Terry Crews naked running on a highway because he was kidnapped and put in a barn for 3 weeks and raped every day. Like, man, give me a break. A guy at a dinner party made a lewd comment to you. By the way, that guy was the head of entertainment for the largest talent agency in the world, WME, and he got demoted. They allowed him to come back to work 2 days ago.
Yep.
He got demoted to the tune of millions and millions of dollars a year.
No,
And
there's
like,
no evidence.
No,
that
there's
this ever
that's
happened.
zero evidence, and
Yes.
he never.
That's insane to me.
Never put his hands on the guy, never did anything. And the guy he has no argument back because right now everybody just is burning people at the stake.
This is a witch hunt.
It's his witch hunt.
Yeah,
This
it
is
is.
fucking Salem.
And it devalues the actual
genuine
victims.
victims.
The genuine victims of what's happening. And that's what I was saying about Terry Crews a couple weeks ago. I'm like, this is devaluing everything that real victims have suffered. It's like, dude, somebody bumped into you at a fucking cocktail party, like brushed into your dick. It's like,
got
man,
PTSD.
are you fucking kidding me? Like I went to SEER school and had to do the fucking centipede with fucking a bunch of naked dudes. As the guy put a fucking fire hose into us and called us a bunch of fucking homos. You guys love when you always suck your fucking each other's dicks. You guys fucking gay ass motherfuckers. It's like,
we need a
I
meme of
have
Evan and
slept.
Terry Crews.
Well,
I have slept just fine
yeah.
for years of my life.
Well, and my Sears
Terry
story,
Crews,
I
you
told you
pussy.
my Sears story. I'm standing there, and they had everybody in the classes behind me, and they got me completely naked, standing next to the people's
Yes.
pond, and they brought out a really attractive female
And
in
she
a
made fun.
fur coat. And she opened her fur coat up and was wearing a bikini on underneath, and it's like 10 degrees.
Right.
And I'm standing there, and my dong is like maybe an inch and a half. And she looks at me with a Russian accent and goes, "Oh, it looks like a penis, only smaller."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I started laughing and got tuned up a little bit. It's like, man, I'm
started
fine.
laughing and got tuned up.
That's the kind of thing that'll ruin a guy's life
That's
forever.
what we need. We
And
need
it's
you
like,
and Evan
man,
and Terry Crews on a panel. Everybody
Come
tell your
on,
stories.
man. Yeah.
It's
Give me a
kind of like,
break.
get the fuck over it, man. Like,
Dude,
are you
I've
kidding
had,
me?
I've had execs say, like, jokingly, like, out gay execs make lewd funny, and we laugh.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm in a meeting the other day, and a guy goes, "When are you going to give me a butt baby?"
Yeah.
Like, runs the network. I laughed my ass off. It was funny.
It's funny.
Like, to me,
It's
anyway.
legitimately funny.
And I don't know. The one thing, though, that I did notice through this whole kind of situation is the people that were protecting the people who were really bad.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
coming out.
Yeah.
Someone very close to me worked in a production with Weinstein.
Right.
And they had to go to meetings with Weinstein. This person's a female. And in the emails letting them know, hey, come to this meeting, there was specific details on, please don't wear any short skirts. Please don't wear any low-cut shirts.
you
Please
kidding
don't,
me?
because the
Holy
staff were
shit.
protecting these females who were working on his productions. So that was someone in his world going, hey, remind everyone not to, because we don't want them to become victims. Like, that to
fucking
me,
insane,
that to
dude.
me is
That's
the fucked up
insane.
stuff.
Yeah,
It's nuts.
Super
Like,
fucking
so how many
crazy.
people knew about this? And he was genuinely a predator.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that when someone around you is going, hey, don't dress like that around him because bad shit will happen, that's a problem. Now, if you're joking around at a party and a guy dick slaps you, listen, if someone does that to me and I don't like it, I'm going to go, don't fucking do that.
We're fighting.
Yeah. And lest we forget, Terry Crews is a very big man.
Yeah.
He is not little tiny, like Tiny Tim, you know, in the school play.
But according to just our society, it doesn't matter now, right? You could be a giant muscle-bound dude and be sexually harassed by a 5'5" Jewish agent.
I just...
And, you know, I mean, because there's no physical intimidation. Everybody's equal. Everybody's the same. This is like everybody gets a participant trophy shit. This is what happens with a society that has where everybody gets a fucking participant trophy.
Now, what are you guys going to be implementing, you know, as business owners, the three of you, are you guys implementing a new kind of SOP for, you know,
Yeah, I don't come to the office.
No, we already have. We've already isolated ourselves. Like we isolate ourselves from the business. We isolate ourselves from anybody other than the executives, and it'll continue to get worse because it just, you know, one passing comment or one perception or one little thing.
A year ago, it was exciting to know every person's name that works here and know things about them. But now it's a different landscape. I don't want to know anything.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Yeah, and I say it. The stakes get higher every day, and it's like, man, it's not worth.
And at what point, like you're saying, will this become truly debilitating for the growth of business?
Correct. And that's you'll see it.
Hopefully by then we're just working off of VR proxies that are just avatars,
robots.
and it's like, no, that was not me.
Ready Player One.
Jetsons. I got a question for you, and you might be able to answer it, you might not, but obviously your family's very well known. What do you guys have to do? I was watching a Curb Your Enthusiasm the other night, and they were talking about an NDA with he was making a joke about it with his girlfriend, having an NDA that she can't talk about anything. And he said, well, every nanny, every agent, every personal assistant in this city has that kind of stuff. How do you guys protect yourself when you have every single member of your family is extremely well known and your personal business is...
We have NDAs that everyone that comes under my employment or my family's employment, they all sign this NDA. And then on the production as well, there's NDAs even from editors to anyone that has access to kind of intimate knowledge of the family. NDAs though don't cover abuse.
Right.
Yeah.
So even if they sign an NDA and you commit a crime or something like that, they can still break it. I mean, maybe now there is going to be some kind of arbitration clause in an NDA to where if you feel you were wronged, it has to be kept in like anonymous arbitration or litigation or something like that. I could see that becoming a thing. But to my knowledge, when genuine wrongdoings do occur, it's it kind of supersedes the NDA.
So have you ever had to enforce one?
An NDA?
Yeah.
Trying to think. No, I don't know, because people actually take it pretty seriously. Because if you break an NDA in Hollywood, it's career over.
Done.
Yeah, like I've had to remind people, remember you've signed an NDA, and what you hear here, let it stay here.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, for the most part, people get it. It's understood. Like, okay, what's the NDA look like? All right, it's fine. It's a 2-pager. Great, sign it, done. But do you guys? I'm sure you guys must.
Anybody that comes in the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody.
If you're coming through the head door,
you have to sign.
You sign 3 different things that say you could be on camera. You don't talk about what you hear here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't had to force one yet. I mean, I've had to do the same thing, remind people, and go like line by line.
Evan, what about your old job?
Yeah, I did. I signed NDAs over there, like, tons of them actually. One every year, felt like every fucking 10 minutes. Now I just don't give a shit. Just like,
well, hey, you guys got an exciting trip ahead of you.
Yeah.
We thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, good talks.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jack Osbourne.
Yeah,
Bert
hey,
from
can
TV.
I real quick shameless plug for Jack? So a lot of people don't realize that Jack's a reserve police officer
I do, because when I was trying to hang out with him last time, he was busy doing police stuff.
It's true.
Are you and I in the same reserve police officer?
Technically, I am on the roster there, although I haven't actually done anything yet. I'm on a department in California.
Oh, okay.
Well, where I was going with that is that both Jack and his dad and his mom as well are huge supporters of law enforcement and spending time around them. 100%, some of the biggest supporters in the celebrity and music and entertainment industry for veterans. So a huge shout out. Their show's on. I think this week you guys are actually going to the Muncie Police Department.
Yep.
You and your dad are doing some breaching and some
Awesome.
doing some actual CQB and
Get
doing
on
some,
that on
some
A&E,
cool stuff.
everybody.
Yeah.
So
Wednesdays,
anyway.
10 o'clock.
Wednesdays, 10 o'clock. Cool. Thanks a lot, Bert. Thanks a lot, Jack.
Thanks, guys.
Fuck you, Jared.